From the heart of Virginia to the thrill seekers around the globe, welcome to the epicenter of sports betting bliss, the Gamblers Gazette Podcast. Join the dynamic duo, your host Michael and the legendary Uncle Frank, two generations united by the adrenaline of the game and the buzz of the bet. Dive into heart-stopping match recaps, top picks of the week, and betting tips that could turn your luck. Whether you're placing a bet, analyzing the odds, or just here for some hearty sports banter, Gamblers Gazette is your one-stop destination. Kick up your feet, tune in, and immerse yourself in the world of sports and bets.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Gamblers Gazette. My name is Frank, also known as the legendary Uncle Frank, alongside my sidekick and co-host nephew, Michael. Michael, how are you? It's been a while.
Yeah, definitely. Took a little bit of a hiatus here in the middle of the season. To be honest, we filmed a full episode of podcast while I was at the beach, and it was not recording. It literally was just Frank's side of things because my internet was so bad. So it was just Frank going the entire time. So whenever I was talking, it was just Frank sitting there going. So I think he agreed with me a lot during that podcast. I think that's all you really need to know.
I kind of knew you weren't recording when we were doing it because you were very fuzzy. Yeah, the internet connection you had was pretty bad.
It was terrible. And then last week we have I'm in property management, so we had budgets due last week. So it was kind of a little bit of a hectic week out here. But nonetheless, we're back and we're ready to get into it. With that being said, just we've kept the same records for us as far as wins and losses for both NFL and college football. So we really don't have the greatest recap of this week, but we're happy to get into to next week's games, as well as we're going to touch base on a little bit of my events this past weekend.
I just want to see the tape where it wasn't recording because I think I was like 8-1 on the recording. Seriously, I think I did really well, but oh well. Yeah, I guess we can start with a recap of the Texas-Georgia game. Number one went down 30-15 in Austin, and I believe you were at that game.
Yep, I was at that game. I was there to witness everything about it. I've kind of adopted University of Texas as my as my school this year, as being here and being new to Texas. It was very interesting. Started the morning off by going to college game day bright and early. We didn't wait in those long lines. Not in college anymore. You have to get a little bit of sleep at night now. So we ended up getting over there around 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, pushing our way all the way up to the front, and was able to see Nick Saban and Pat McAfee, Reese, the whole crew. And if you ever think you have any questions about college game day, yes, they do eat all the food they bring out onto the stage during the segments. I saw. What's his name? I forget who.
I think it's Desmond Howard. We were talking about this and said he ate the entire plate during the commercial break.
During the commercial, that man put away an entire tub of macaroni and cheese. And then my best friend and I were walking down the street, and we so happened to stumble upon them walking out of their trailers to get into their cars that were swooping them away. So I got a nice little video of each guy on the cast coming out of their trailer. It was just me and my friend and maybe 5 other people and getting into their cars. So it was really nice. Pat McAfee is a real good guy. He stood up and was talking to the fans, telling them not to drink and drive, like giving out a PSA off camera after the show was over,
awesome.
Thanking everyone. So it was awesome. It was a really good time, and then we got to the game that night.
So yeah, then there was a game at 8 o'clock, and not to recap or waste too much time, but let's give us a little summary. I think we did talk about Michael and I off camera about this game. I talked to him on his way back from Austin, and he was just telling me a few things he noticed from viewers. And also the play that incited some fan disapproval, and it got pretty ugly there for a while.
Yeah, for starters, I'll start with that part of things, and then we can dive into the game since you saw it on TV as well. But just from my perspective, the whole throwing bottles on the field and everything like that. I mean, no one wants to see that. That's the opportunity for players and even fans to get hurt. I was in the second deck, and fans were trying to throw things from my deck, and I've seen beers hit people in the back of the head.
Stupid.
Stuff that could really cause lasting damage for one play that happened. But, at the same time, I don't think that the fans, I mean, obviously, yes, they are fully to blame, but there was some mishaps on the video screen in the stadium. So, for example, I've never seen where they show an in-depth play over and over and over again. I mean, they showed the pass interference. Yes, we can all agree the referee made the absolute wrong call. This was absolutely offensive pass interference, and the call should have never been made. They got it right in the end, which I don't know how they're able to change that call, but they did get it right in the end.
Non-reviewable.
But the thing is, the whoever was operating that screen was just showing it over and over again and zoomed in, and it was almost like they were getting more and more mad, and then one person threw something on the field and then more.
It's a good way to get people to incite things that is unnecessary. And you're right, I've been to live football games, and yeah, they show it up on the big screen, and it's a couple of times, and then if it doesn't go your way, you move on.
Yeah.
But that sounds like a day of drinking, and then doing that just led to a recipe for disaster.
And I will say the majority of the bottles and things did come from the student section, and I'll tell you what, there was the F1 race was in town, and so Red Bull was a sponsor of one of the race teams there. I mean, people were hopped up on some energy drinks, and they've been upset from college game day since 4 a.m. waiting in line. There's a lot. It was the perfect storm to get this going. So that being said, we don't like to see that happen, and hopefully Texas has learned a lesson, and maybe they've taught a lesson to some other schools just to let it go and move on. Initially, the lesson in the stands, the consensus was, next time we get a bad call, let's throw some more shit on the field and we'll get it reversed. So I don't know.
At Texas, from what I understand, and you probably know better than I do, being down there and gone to the game and seeing fans, they have a pretty good fan base. I mean, They don't seem to be thugs. I hate to use that word, but I mean, that's thug mentality. I'm sorry. You just don't do that. I mean, you and I are diehard sports fans, and we've been to games where you're like, you gotta be kidding. Or you and I go back and forth and banter with the expletives flying on text or FaceTime or whatever. But that's as far as it goes. I mean, it's a game. Put it in perspective.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway,
all right, let's move on. Do you want to talk anything about the football or the NFL that we had? Any recaps? The Eagles had a nice win, I guess.
Let's talk about this game actually. Let's talk about the actual gameplay here. So it was real poor. I mean, the consensus in the stadium was welcome to the SEC for Texas. It was SEC football where they were running through the offensive line. Georgia was running straight through them, and the thing was, Quinn Ewers was unable. He had open lanes. He had open lanes that he could have took throughout the game, but he didn't. And it got to the point where in the middle of the second quarter, they had to take him out and put Arch Manning in, which was absolute shock in the stadium. You're taking your guy who is supposed to go high up in the draft. He returned to Texas just to improve his stock rating in the draft, and now you're taking him out and benching him for Arch Manning. One of the first plays from Arch Manning, he was able to break free for a 20, 25-yard run and get away from the offense or from the defensive line of Georgia. I mean, it's almost like having a stagnant quarterback in the backfield. It just doesn't work for SEC play. And then that being said, there were so many plays where Ewers either had a check down, wide open, 5 yards down the field, would have gotten an easy 6 or 7 yards on first down, but went for a home run ball. Do
you think it was game planning, or do you think it was Georgia just dominated the line like you said? They were running right through the line like the O-line for Texas wasn't standing up to them. Or do you think a lot of it is to blame on Ewers not doing the checkdowns? Because you were saying you had a perfect view from behind the end zone looking down the field where you could see the plays opening up and where progression should have gone, but he wasn't making those throws.
Yeah, the thing was, it's like everything was a home run ball. The entire game, everything was a home run ball. Like there was like 3 or 4 times where he overthrew a receiver. Me and my friend that were at the game said he didn't make a single good throw. There was some long bombs that he connected on, but it's because Isaiah Bond or Golden, the other receiver, was able to turn around, find the ball in the air, and come down with a great grab.
Right.
He looked like Johnny Manziel and Mike Evans out there. It was just like something that wasn't. They were making him look better than he really was.
Right.
And then when he did have a check down, this is why I say it's not gameplay or it's not game planning. He did throw the check down sometimes, but he would throw a bullet from 5 yards away, bounce off the guy's chest.
I saw some of those. Well, even one, I think he had a pick. I mean, the guy, he threw it right. The guy was right behind him, and he didn't see him, and he threw the pick. I think, too, I mean, Texas has been in the Big 12 for so long, and it's just the air raid, right? You go down the field, you throw it deep, your guy goes up, you just move it down the field. SEC is a little different, and I think they've played a few SEC teams. They haven't played at Georgia. But with all that said, I didn't see Georgia dominating this game. I saw Texas being closer, maybe losing by a field goal or winning by a field goal, but I did not see the 30-15 game. So
yeah, it was crazy. And 30-15 is generous.
Yeah,
30-15 is very generous. 30-15 includes the touchdown that was scored after they overturned the call on the pass interference.
Right. Well, I also read that I was thinking that they may bench Ewers, but Sarkisian saying Ewers is the starter this week against Vandy. So
I didn't read that. That's crazy.
Yeah, he's the starter. So, all right, yeah, that was a good game. I'm glad you got a chance to have that experience of 105,000 fans. I've never been to a crowd that large, so you had me beat there. I think the biggest one I was at was like 75. So that was good.
Yeah, and they had a flyover with
that was
two
almost
B-1
the
bombers.
highlight.
That was the highlight. Rooting for Texas.
You took some awesome video of that. That was awesome.
Yeah, I'll see if I can include it in a little bit in the podcast after this section here. But it was a great time.
All right, and then let's do a quick recap on an NFL game. Like I said, Eagles won 28-3 this week. Barkley went home, had a great game. Eagles came out on top, so I was happy to see that. Several large injuries in the games this past week. If you didn't watch the Ravens and Bucks last night, they lost both Evans and Godwin. Godwin looks definite season ending, and we were talking earlier, could be possible career ending. Evans with a hamstring, hopefully he can come back 6 weeks.
6 weeks, yeah.
And then Ayuk had a really bad injury, so it's just been
Jaden Daniels
injuries. Daniels, that's one of our games we'll talk about here in a second. You'll see the spreads affected because of his possibly not playing. They have him officially listed as day-to-day, but I don't know. He looked too good, so.
For sure.
How are we doing on, talk about the Heisman Trophy. You got updates on that?
Yeah, Heisman Trophy is a little bit of a shakeup here at the top of the list from 3 weeks ago.
And there should be. Oh my gosh, it's been almost like a snow globe. Shake it up, and it's just like wherever they land. I think, well, they have them tied at the top. Cam Ward. Cam Ward is having a fabulous year. Just every game he plays, never gives up. Has had a couple of close calls, but came back, beat Tech, beat Cal. In that he down 4-possession game a couple of weeks ago, won this past week. Now they go to, FSU goes to Miami this week.
That's going to be destruction.
21-point favorite for Miami, I think, in that. I think I would, that's not one of our games, but I think I would take Miami given the points.
Absolutely.
Dylan Gabriel looked really good against Purdue. It's Purdue, though, but they did cover on a 30-point spread. Travis Hunter Did he play this past week? I don't know. I didn't see any of that Arizona-Colorado game. He had been
I believe
banged up
so.
the week before. And then we have a new addition, Cade Klubnik from Clemson. Quarterback's been really lighting it up. That team got blown out by Georgia the first week, and they have been on point since.
Kind of quiet too. Like they've
Kind
been
of quiet.
them and Notre Dame
they're
have been
smoking
sneaking there.
people. Oh yeah, Notre Dame after they lost to Northern Illinois and got embarrassed at home, they're on a roll. So yeah, I like to see and some names that have dropped off. You don't see Dart's name, you don't see Milrose's name, who's been pedestrian the last few weeks.
Ewers.
Average. Ewers, he was hurt, but now you can attest because you were there that it's also from poor play. So I think they have it right. Right now, if I was voting and they have those two guys at the top, and nothing against Ashton, Cam Ward for me. I mean, you play in the ACC, you're sixth in the country, and nothing to take away from Boise State and their schedule, but Cam Ward, it's just what he's doing has been really, really unbelievable. Having a good season.
And being undefeated too is huge in that sense. With that being said,
how many undefeateds do we have left? Do you have any rankings?
Yeah, let's move into the rankings a little bit and see what this is looking like. We got Oregon at the top, which they should be. Georgia took a little bit of a leapfrog.
That was a really good win, but I almost think I would have put Penn State at 2, maybe Georgia at 3. Ohio State was off, so maybe put them at 4. Texas dropping to 5, yeah. Miami's playing so good.
I think Miami and Texas should be switched in this sense.
Yeah, I could see that.
I don't understand how Texas, after the showing they had last week, I know they were number 1 when they're coming into it, but I don't know how they could be ahead of Miami in this.
That's what happens with these SEC schools. Georgia loses at 1, they drop to 3. Alabama loses, they drop to 4. So they're right where the pollsters put these SEC teams when they're 1. They don't drop them too far. But I agree. I could totally make a case to swap them. Tennessee. I think Tennessee might be a little high. I might swap LSU and Tennessee. LSU's been playing some really good football. Clemson up in the top 10. How about that? Oh no, they did come back, Iowa State, and beat, who were they playing last week? And I had Iowa State in the points, or given the points, and they didn't cover. UCF. University of Central Florida.
Yeah.
Any newbies on there?
Not really, but I'm loving the job that Signetti's doing over at Indiana.
7-0 or 6-0?
7-0.
7-0.
Yeah.
And this week they play Washington, who they should handle, but they're also without their starting quarterback, so that could be a little tough test there.
And then just a few other ones rounding out this top 15. Obviously, Alabama has lost a lot of games. I don't think they should make it into that college football playoff, but Texas A&M and Notre Dame, after facing each other early in the season and having one of the great games, have really fought their way back. 6-1 for Notre Dame, and I believe that Texas A&M's only loss was Notre Dame in that sense. So, really a two good teams that are coming up, and
keeping
it's going to be
themselves in the playoff hunt. That's for sure.
For sure. And Texas A&M has a huge game to end out the season against Texas. So there is an opportunity to gain some points at the end of the season and get to that top 10.
For sure. All right, let's get into this week's picks. You want to do some college picks? How about it?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Let's move into the first one here. We get to see Ashton Genty in action here when Boise State takes on the UNLV Red Raiders. Is that right? UNLV Red Raiders?
UNLV Rebels.
Red Raiders is Texas Tech.
Correct.
Boise State is a 3-point favorite here.
First time we talked about Boise State, so I'm kind of interested to watch this game. It's a Friday night game, so it's televised, so we'll be able to see it. We haven't talked about them, so I'm going to give a few names here. The Boise State quarterback, Maddox Matson, 1273, 12-2, and then Ashton Genty, 1,248 yards, 17 touchdowns through 6 games, which comes out to just under 10 yards a carry.
Have you watched a Boise
9.9.
State? Have you watched a Boise State game this season?
I have not. I have not seen them.
Some of the most amazing things I've ever seen.
From this kid or just
from this
the
kid.
offense? Yeah.
Well,
I'm interested.
It's hard to talk about this kid without talking about the offensive line as well.
Right.
I mean, the gaps that they're creating, it looks like he's running through a freaking Grand Canyon to
Right.
get into the end zone. He's crazy. He runs with such strength. I mean, he doesn't look like the biggest kid in the world, but he will run you over.
They never are. They're strong legs. They're slow center of gravity. The best runners. But we've also talked about UNLV and Malik Williams, 838, 10-2, who took over for the starter when the starter left, wasn't paid an NIL deal. Couple of stats here. Boise State ranks 4th in the country in rushing. Surprise, surprise. Due to the incredible Heisman Trophy candidate, Genty. They're scoring 47 points a game, which is 3rd in the country. And they're 7th in offensive power ranking. So that's Boise State. The UNLV on the flip side is 5th in the country in scoring. So you know where I'm going with this on the over-under. Because we're going to do a surprise over-under in this one.
Okay.
They're scoring 44 a game. They're 3rd in rushing and 27th overall in power ranking. So both of these teams are top 5 in scoring. Both defenses are okay. My pick here, and I'm probably going to surprise you. I'm going to go with UNLV taking the points. The over-under is 66.5, and I'm going over.
Interesting. I am going opposite on half of that. So I'm taking Boise State just because Ashton Genty is so great. It's one of the greatest teams I've watched
You might
play.
have an edge on me because you've seen them.
Well, they're on late, which is a little bit earlier here than it is at your house.
Right.
But yeah, I'm taking Boise State at -3 here, and I'm also taking the over, the 66.5. I think you said is the over. So yeah, give me over and give me Ashton Genty running over the Rebels.
Yeah. Okay. No, I could see both there. So
Yeah.
I just think I like UNLV in the desert at home on a Friday night. I think that gives them a little bit of an edge. Although I thought Purdue might have a little bit of an edge to keep the point spread under 30 last week to Oregon. But at the last minute, I changed to Oregon on my bet, and Oregon covered at 30. I think it was 35 zip.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the UNLV has a better passing game. I don't know if you have any stats on their passing game, but
Passing game, 80, almost 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. Oh, I'm actually looking at, I moved my thing. It was the Navy guy. 838, 10-2, but that's also a partial season for him because
Right.
the kid left. His name is escaping me right now, but yeah, so he could throw the ball.
yeah, I think UNLV beats him in the pass game for sure. But all right, let's move on to the next one here.
It comes down to Genty, man, and I think it's more of a contain and not stop.
Absolutely.
It's just like try to keep the numbers somewhat respectable.
Absolutely.
All right, what do we got next? ND and Navy. This is actually at a neutral site being
gonna be
played
great.
at MetLife
Wow.
in New Jersey. Okay, so Notre Dame number 12 and Navy number 24. So we actually have a top 25 matchup, which is kind of looks weird with Navy having a ranking. ND is favored by 12.5. Notre Dame is 80-13-1 all time in this game. Navy ranks 4th in rushing in the country, and if you've seen them, they are good. The quarterback is awesome. In fact, let me give you the quarterback's numbers. He leads in both rushing and pass. His name is Harath, 888 yards, 10 touchdowns, and a pick. And then on the ground, he has 621 yards and 10 touchdowns.
Wow.
Yeah. So he can run the ball and rush the ball. The Navy offensive line has given up a half a sack all year.
Wow.
Now, granted, Notre Dame's coming with a little bit better competition. Um, you know, ND can throw the ball with Leonard. They can also rush the ball with Love. I think it's going to be an interesting game. I think, and I'm probably going to surprise you again on this one. I'm going Navy and taking the points here, 12 and a half.
No surprise here because I'm taking the same thing. Notre Dame, they're able to win this game, I believe, just like they have some big games in the past. But when they play ranked opponents and they play teams that are tough, they don't ball out like they're supposed to. They don't win those games handedly like the media thinks they're going to. I think that this game is obviously won by Notre Dame, but I think it's way closer than you think. I think it's going to be maybe a 3 to 7 point victory for Notre Dame, but definitely not 12.5 here. I don't think Navy gets beat by many people in this country by 12.5 this season. So it's great to see our armed forces teams playing well this year.
Both ranked.
Both ranked, and I also want to say this was the most difficult logo to get into the the slideshow because when you type Navy in, you get a whole bunch of things that are not logos. So anyway, yeah. So I think we're both taking the same here. We're taking Navy plus 12.5.
Navy in the points. Yep. It actually opened at 11.5 and went up a point. So a little bit of the money's being thrown on Notre Dame, but I just see it being a close game on a neutral site.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect time to let everyone know we're filming this a little day earlier. I'm actually flying home to Richmond, Virginia, so
can't wait to see you.
Yeah, this is going to be on Tuesday. We're filming this, so just so you know, just in case those lines change a little bit.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, moving into the next one here, I think you know a little bit more about this game than I do with the backup quarterback in Indiana. So, what do you see with Cignetti's Hoosiers this week?
Yeah, so Cignetti's Hoosiers looked awesome against Nebraska. Everybody was saying Indiana hadn't played anybody, and they're playing Nebraska, the 11th ranked defense in the country, and blah 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 blah. 3 hours later, 56-7, UI. So, yeah, Rodgers is the quarterback for Washington, 18-20-13-2. Coleman has 681-5 on the ground, and Jackson has 542-2 through the air. Now, the interesting thing about this one is, and probably the spread would be a little bit higher, the quarterback Rourke got hurt last week, injured his hand. So they have a backup quarterback named Taven Jackson will get the reins in this game. He did play in the second half last week a little bit because I think Rourke got hurt in the first half. So they were still able to move the ball and push. I mean, Coleman was doing, or Ellison was doing good pushing the ball down the field on the ground, and Jackson did okay. So I think if Rourke was playing in this game, it would definitely be double digits. I don't care who's playing at quarterback right now with that spread. I'm going UI 6.5, given 6.5.
Yeah, and I think the catalyst for UI is that they have Cignetti. Cignetti is a winner.
This guy's ready.
He's a winner.
He winner.
Wins. I think I saw an interview with him last week that they said, how do you recruit guys to come play for whatever school you're at, whether that's JMU, that's anything, any school that he's at? He says, I tell him to Google me. I win. It was his answer.
I heard that. I didn't hear him say. Well, I heard the replay. And I was just like, I mean, it's cockiness, but when you're winning and you're a winner,
guess what? If you Google him, he does.
Yeah,
he wins.
He wins. He's right. He's right. So that's why I think having a backup, you might not see the 50 points or they're averaging, they're second in the country in points with 49 points a game.
And I think one thing that it's important to call out here is that it's a whole nother story when you have a great coach like Signetti, and he has an injury on the team, but he also he knows about the injury ahead of the game. So he has the whole week to plan and prepare and put together a game plan that is beneficial to this new quarterback. So I don't think great coaches are not able to. I think he's able to adapt. Great coaches are able to take over and let their record really show there.
I think another positive for Indiana in this game as well is it's another home game. I think they sold out last week for the first time, and I don't know how long. Obviously, it's going to be another sellout this week. And Washington has traveled so much this week. They were at Rutgers. They were at Maryland. They were at Michigan. Now they're at Indiana.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of travel, and it's not easy, whether you're a pro or especially college kids, to travel a lot. That's why I always think, how the hell do the kids from Hawaii do it? They're playing 5 or 6 games on the mainland, and you're traveling, however, 5 hours. What is that, like 3,000 miles each way?
Yeah, anyway, just to get to the mainland.
Just to get to the mainland, right?
You could be playing on the East Coast.
I think Hawaii had a game last year at Michigan.
Jesus,
like seriously, that's crazy. It's like a 9-hour flight.
That's crazy.
So yeah, we're both taking Indiana and giving the 6.5 here.
Yep. All right, cool. Let's move on to the next one here. Oh man, this one is interesting.
What do you think here? I'll let you start this one.
I don't like Arizona. I think Arizona's rated, and they lost last week to Colorado. I think that they are overrated, and they I don't know. I don't think they're going to win this game. I think that Michigan is able – not Michigan, I'm sorry. Same colors. I think West Virginia is able to come in and I don't want to say win this game, but keep it closer than that -3. So give me West Virginia here at +3 points.
See, and I'm seeing kind of the same thing, but I'm going a little different here. Both teams are on losing streaks. West Virginia's lost 2 in a row. Arizona's lost 3 in a row. Arizona opened the season on a 3-game, 2 or 3 game winning streak. No, a 3-game winning streak. Now they've lost 4 in a row, I think. 3 or 4 in a row. They've just looked bad. I mean, West Virginia hasn't looked great either. They got blown out at home against Kansas State last week, and Arizona got blown out against Colorado. So something has to give here. And the only reason I'm going Arizona here, because Fafita, the QB for Arizona, has regressed this year. He had a really good game at the beginning of the year, but probably played some bad team. I can't remember who they played. But he has more picks than touchdowns. So he's regressing, but the only reason I'm taking Arizona here is they're home. And that's where I think Vegas put the line at -3. That's a home kind of they both stink, but they're home field goal. So I'm going Arizona here and seeing if they can get back on the winning track.
Yeah, honestly, that's a great take. I could definitely see that happening. I think whoever's home in this game does. I think you're right.
They're both struggling. Typically, when they're struggling, it's easier to get out of a struggle if you're home. Although neither team, I think both teams were at home last week and got blown out. So I don't know.
So it's a
tough one.
Yeah, just to bridge off of this game a little bit, because we mentioned Colorado. What are your thoughts right now? The NFL draft coming up next year, they have Shedeur Sanders going #1 overall in the NFL draft.
No.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think Shedeur Sanders is at the bottom end of the top 10, maybe 10, 11-ish.
They haven't projected #1.
I think Travis Hunter should go higher than Shedeur.
They haven't projected.
Think there's several offensive linemen that are projected to go before him. Shedeur... It's I hate to say this, but for me, he gets a bump down just because of his father, and that's not fair to him. That's just in my mind. I mean, nothing against the kid, but I think the father Dion puts him in positions to boost his ranking and might take a little bit away of Shador or of Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
But I see him more like he's gonna get paid. He's gonna go top 10-ish, but not one overall.
Yeah, they updated it since I last looked, actually. So
what do you got?
Right here we have number 9, Shador. We have Travis Hunter,
exactly
number 1.
What I said. Put him around that 10 spot, and they have Travis at the top.
Yep, Travis at the top.
Exactly what I said. And do they have some offensive and linemen and all that stuff going on?
Yeah, D-line for Michigan. 2 Michigan guys, cornerback and defensive lineman in there. LSU
Michigan
offensive
guys,
tackle.
I was so mad and upset and kind of Aiden Hutchinson, the
oh man,
the
that
defensive
stinks.
guy for Detroit. He he just ruptured his knee or whatever, and
I think he broke his leg.
Or broke his leg. You're right. He was actually on TikTok saying how his rehab was going, and he looked like he was in good spirits. It seems like he has a good support system around him, and he was thanking everybody for their prayers. So that was nice to see. But Detroit, man, that might be a little bit of a hit. Although they went into Minnesota and beat them last week, so who knows?
All right, let's move on to the next one here.
We're different there. So you're taking West Virginia +3, and I'm taking Arizona -3.
That's correct. Moving into the next one,
what do
we got
next?
Missouri versus Alabama. Alabama favorited somehow in another game at minus 13.5 points here.
Now, I'm going to probably... you're probably not going to get my logic here after you hear some stats, but Missouri's defense ranks 15th in the country, giving up 18 points a game, 304 yards, and teams are only converting 28% of third downs. So that's the Missouri day. Alabama's 2-2 in the SEC. When have you seen Alabama have 2 losses before the flip of the calendar to November?
Oh, I think I know. Never when Saban was a coach.
Well, here's and you mentioned that, and it's a good segue into this stat. Last week, they lost to Tennessee 24-17. They played well in the first half. Now, here's the non-Saban thing you wouldn't see under a Saban team. 115 yards worth of penalties.
Wow.
So you're shooting yourself in the foot. So it's not like... It's like Alabama when they lose to a Georgia 27-24 under Saban. Well, Georgia just is really good and they outplayed them. But you're beating yourself with undisciplined plays. And that just is not Alabama.
Yeah.
But here is my take on this week's game. Missouri's not a very good team on the road. They got blown out by Texas A&M. They barely beat Auburn at home last week. Had to come back late in the fourth quarter to win 21-17, I believe it was. Alabama has a lot to play for. If Alabama loses again, their playoff hopes are done. I think being in Tuscaloosa this week, I'm going Alabama 13.5.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that one there. 13.5 is a lot of points.
It opened up at 14. The 13.5 I like better.
Yeah. 13.5 is...
And like we said before, Michael said, we're recording Tuesday, so that could go up. Or I can't see that going down under 13, but I can see it going to 14.5.
Oh, man. 14.5, I would definitely take Missouri.
Oh, for sure. For the 13.5, I like Alabama.
Yeah.
And just with... I think Milroe has been so... For him... Poor.
I like Milroe.
But he's just been very they should have, they won the game, but they should have lost that South Carolina game. They lost to Vanderbilt, who just not barely beat, but Vandy was a 21-point favorite last week against Ball State, who I saw play JMU a few weeks ago, and JMU ran them out of the building 63-7. They beat Ball State 24-14.
Dude,
JMU beat Alabama.
JMU, I'm not very happy with right now. But anyway.
Yeah, we know why.
That
See, now,
ruined
if you lived in Virginia, you wouldn't have made that mistake.
that ruined my weekend.
That ruins your weekend.
That
But
ruined. That could have paid for my flight to Richmond, but yeah. Anyway, I'm taking Missouri here at plus 13.5. I think it's going to go up, so I think
it's a tough game to pick.
yeah. I think it's going to go up. So I mean, not that we can take a moving spread. So, but I think Missouri plus 13.5 here. I think that coach does get him back on track for Alabama this week,
Has to.
but
You're playing in front of your home. But let me tell you what. If they come out undisciplined like they did in Tennessee and Knoxville last week, those fans will run. You think Texas fans were crazy last week? Those fans will run their ass right out of the building.
I'll tell you what. This has been the most sense that you've made in games that I don't pick what you pick. You've made some good points this week. I mean, 2 in a row now that you've had me questioning myself with Arizona and now this one, because I had Missouri, I had West Virginia, but I see both of your points as well.
And I see, and throwing it right back at you, I can see your point on both of them as well, going the other way.
Yeah,
but I just think Alabama's under so much pressure this week.
yeah.
Did they show up and beat Missouri like Texas A&M beat them 42-10, or there's so much pressure they can't take it and they don't cover or perhaps lose the ball game. So who knows? If it was a Saban team, we'd have no problem picking this.
Oh.
It wouldn't be a problem. And it wouldn't be 13.5.
Exactly. The spread would be a little different. All right, yeah, let's move on. I have Missouri at plus 13.5 here.
Good.
Let's move on to this next one. This is, again, another Illinois game where they are...
This is tough.
This is another Illinois game where they are... they're getting hosed a little bit here. 21.5 points is a lot of points for a team that's pretty darn good, who blew out Michigan last week, who was ranked at the time 24th, and Illinois was ranked 22nd.
That spread last week, I didn't understand how the heck Illinois was an underdog at Michigan. They were at Illinois.
I know. And do you see those helmets? Oh man,
those helmets were awesome. The leather, that was to celebrate 100 years of Big Ten.
Yeah, each one was handcrafted and hand painted. But anyway, Illinois is moved up 2 spots to the 20th position here, playing the number 1 Oregon. And honestly, I'll go first on this one. I'm a fan of Illinois this season. We've made many posts and even some TikToks and everything like that on these games, on Illinois' games against Penn State and everything. I mean, exactly like I just said, Penn State, they were stay close. They stayed within 18. I think that they're able to stay within 21.5 here. This is going to be the toughest matchup that Oregon has played thus far.
Okay, so you're taking Illinois in the points.
Yep.
And I'm still wavering in my head. So maybe when I talk through my notes here, it'll make a decision for me. I love this Illinois quarterback. I mean, we talk about Oregon's QB Gabriel all the time. That he goes without saying he's pretty good too. But Altmaier, 1,506 yards, 15 touchdowns, 1 interception all year. They lose their running back, though, who's out with a hip injury, Fegan, done for the year, surgery. But here's where it gets interesting. Illinois' defense is giving up... if you throw out that wacky Purdue game where it was like 50-49, I don't know what happened. Illinois won. But it was just some crazy anomaly game. If you throw that game out, Illinois' defense is giving up 13 points a game. Illinois has been an underdog 3 times. They were underdogs to Michigan, Penn State, and Nebraska. And big underdogs in those games. Not so much last week. They were like a 4.5 point dog last week, so not too bad. They should have been favored last week.
Were they not underdogs to Kansas as well?
I don't remember what they were back. And who knows back then? I mean, Vegas didn't know what kind of team they were yet. They could have been.
Yeah.
because we're finding out Kansas is pretty poor. But getting back to my point, they were underdogs to these teams, and not only were underdogs and covered, they outright beat two of them. They beat Nebraska at Lincoln, they beat Michigan at home, and they went to Penn State on a Saturday night whiteout game in State College and kept it closer than 18, which you and I both thought that game was like 18 points. Just didn't see. Yeah, you made the TikToks, and we made a little bit of money on that game that week. You know what? I'm going Illinois too.
Let's go, baby.
Illinois has, Oregon though, they're just such. I think Oregon's. The class of team Oregon is a step above everybody else. But I also looked at some scores Oregon has played this year and won. And a few of the games aren't blowouts. And I think Illinois is a better team. Yeah. So, give me the Illini and 21.5 points here.
Yeah, I agree completely. I do want to correct myself in one thing. I said that I think this is the toughest game that Oregon's played. I do want to correct myself. I forgot that they played Ohio State a few weeks ago. But other than that, I think this is the toughest game.
Yeah, and that dope for the freaking freshman quarterback for OSU. They're still talking about him running that ball and not getting down on time running.
I can't stand Ohio
State.
And he
screwed me on a 5-game parlay. No, actually on a 6-game parlay. I had money lines on 6 games, and all of them, I had 5 of them, and I had Ohio State. And all that son of a gun had to do was get down a second earlier. They would have kicked the field goal. Oh, and the phantom PI call against Ohio State, pushing him out of field goal range. Why he had to run the ball and not call timeout.
Crazy.
Anyway, so yeah, we're both taking Illinois here in the points.
Yep.
Cool.
Exactly. Let's do this one real quick. Let's get the college knocked out here. We have LSU versus Texas A&M, one of the best games of the week for sure. I think Texas A&M is a favorite here by 2.5 points. I'm taking Texas A&M here. I think they've made a great comeback after losing to Notre Dame earlier in the season. They've been on a hot streak since game 1, and I think they're able to continue that even though LSU's been on their own hot streak. But in this sense, I think that A&M takes this one home.
I'm going different, and I'm not going to be long-winded here. I just like LSU's passing game. I think this Newsmeyer, 2,222 yards, 18 touchdowns. I think he can throw the ball in this secondary. I think Texas A&M is a better rushing club. They're 13th in rushing in the country, but they're 107th in passing. Now, Wegman, he's the starter, and he's actually the guy who started the season, then got hurt. So he's back, but I still like LSU here. Give me LSU plus 2.5.
All right, let's move on to the next one here. Last one, I believe, for college here. Penn State versus Washington. I had Penn State at minus 6.5 here. What do you see?
Penn State and Wisconsin? Mm-hmm. I think you said Washington.
Oh, my bad.
I'll be quick on this one too, since we're running short on time. Love this quarterback for Penn State, Alar, 1492, 11-4. Love their running game. Wisconsin, the offense, like every other Wisconsin team, goes through the rush with this kid Walker, who has 565 yards and 9 touchdowns. Penn State just to me seems a little bit different this year. In the years past, under Franklin, they've always lost that 1 or 2 games that, oh man, that game would have pushed them over the top. I think the game against USC a couple weeks ago, where they came back and beat them at USC, I think they're a different Penn State. I think they go into Wisconsin, and I'm going to take Penn State minus 6.5.
All right. We could take the same one there. Moving on to now. NFL. Baby. It's to start off this one, it's the Eagles versus the Bengals. My team versus my best friend Tucker's team. This is going to be, I think it's going to be a good matchup. Both teams are they're a little rocky here and there, but both teams at the end of the day are both solid teams. What do you see in this one?
Well, last week's game against the Giants was an anomaly, or this week game 2 days ago against the Giants. I think Giants, Eagles were up to play, and Barkley was up to play against them. I hope it's a trend and not just a one gamer. Bengals haven't shown me a lot, but I'm going Bengals here at home, -2.5.
So I think the interesting thing about that is it was at the Giants last week, and the reason that we had such a good game is because they were trying to let Saquon Barkley run all over his old team, which goes to show you, hey, maybe we should run the ball. But at the end of the day, I think that maybe they learned something, but Nick Sirianni doesn't seem to learn anything about anything.
I should take my hat off when I make this pick. I'm taking the Bengals -2.5.
Yeah, Uncle Fester's taking Bengals -2.5. I'm going to take the Eagles at +2.5 here. Shocker, I know.
It's just I have to see it more than one game. And I still think Sirianni shouldn't be coaching in Philadelphia anymore.
I can't stand Sirianni at all whatsoever.
Now, this game, you said Nico was back, correct?
No,
or
he's not.
Out.
He's out.
Stroud had a really, really tough game in Green Bay last week. I don't think he cracked the 100-yard mark.
I mean, he's got Stephon Diggs still.
Yeah, but they ran the hell out of the ball against Green Bay. Mixon had a really good game, so maybe that was just the game plan. I think Stroud at home, slinging the ball around. Even without Nico, they still have Tank. They still got Schultz. Who's the other guy? It's Nico, Tank Dell, and
Stephon Diggs.
Thank you, Stephon Diggs, who screwed me on a parlay.
Me too.
He was supposed to get an anytime touchdown. I had 3 out of 4, and he didn't get one.
He got one.
No, he didn't. Not last week. No, they didn't do. And Stroud didn't have. Look at your fantasy football score and tell
Shut
me
up.
Diggs and Stroud got your games.
Shut up.
I had to say it once. Anyway, I'm going Texas at home -6 here.
Yeah, I'm going the same here. I'm going Texas at home, and just so everyone knows what that previous joke was just about, my fantasy football score is the most horrendous thing I've ever seen in my entire life of fantasy football.
60?
I did not crack 60. I got beat 106.9 to 54. My leading score was the kicker I grabbed off of waivers on 35 seconds before the game started, before I got fined. It is Will Richard from Minnesota. He had 3 field goals and 2 extra points, and he was my leading scorer. I had the guy on dope, Jamison Williams.
What? Every time you play him, he doesn't show up, and when you bench him, he has a great game.
He's had, this season so far, not to get off on a tangent, he's had 1.4 points. I benched him. I played him. Next game I benched him. He had 15 points. I benched him. It was his bye week. I benched him again the week after that. He had 16 points. And then finally I was like, oh, maybe I should play him again, try him out. He had 1 reception for -4 yards and then was suspended because he had dope.
Was he really? I didn't hear that.
He's suspended for 2
Maybe
games.
That's why he hasn't shown up the last few games. He's been out of his mind.
Yeah, and then Travis Kelce had 4 receptions for 17 yards. My entire lineup, Jackson Njigba had 4.1 points. Stephon Diggs did not have a touchdown with 4 points. And then CJ Stroud, a whopping 88 yards passing for 6.2 points.
He didn't crack 100.
It's the most freaking ridiculous.
Stop your crying. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is just funny. This season has been wacky. You and I, in our fantasy league, and let's get off of fantasy, but in our fantasy league, I think since 2018 when you joined our league, and I joined before 2015, but between you, me, and this other guy that we play with, out of the 12, I think we've won like 5 or 6 championships, and since 2015, so we've won like everything except for like 2 years, and This year is just crazy because my team, I think we're both 3-4. My team is garbage too.
Yeah.
I woke up this morning and I checked I had Murray going last night and I was down by like 18. And I was like, he'll get 17 and a half. He actually had a rushing touchdown that pushed me over and I got a win. So anyway, let's move on.
One more right before I move on. I just want to tell you really quick. My other fantasy team, I have Mike Evans, Nico Collins, Christian McCaffrey, and Mark Andrews.
Mark Andrews is doing well.
Yeah, that's okay. I benched him, so.
Oh, there you go.
Yep. Anyway, we're moving on.
Some years you just gotta laugh and be like, oh well.
Yep, that was my first 5 picks of that league.
Some years it's like a donation to church.
Exactly.
That's the way you gotta think about it.
All right, moving on. Speaking of injuries, we have the Dolphins at -3 here versus the.
Tua is back this week.
Yeah, Tua is back this week. He's going to be eating pork chops for breakfast on the way to the game. He had a press conference that was very weird about how he was going to play no matter what. He wasn't going to wear a guardian cap on his head. All this stuff. He's a tough, big man, and that he's going to just go out and wing it. So, hoping that he doesn't get hit.
He did, and I love Tua, but he made some stupid comments.
He made some comments almost like he had CTE.
I mean, it's like getting out of bed and twisting your ankle and falling down and you could hit your head. Oh, of course you could. I mean, that could happen. But I mean, the odds of that happening, the odds of you having another concussion that you've had like 5 now.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, the thing is, you make the statement like that, but you are the guy in the entire NFL that is known for having concussions. So,
right.
like, it's not just stubbing your toe and hitting your head. No. It's the fact that you are the guy who has had the most concussions.
Right.
Like, there is another factor in there.
I don't get it. And I really thought his family was going to talk him out of it, but hopefully he doesn't get hurt. But anyway, let's talk about the game. Dolphins -3. You know what? He's back. He's probably been practicing with Tyreek and Waddle. I'm going -3. Cardinals are too herky-jerky, up and down, Jekyll and Hyde, coming across country, coming off the field. Who's this?
Yeah,
my
Murray.
Buddy Murray.
Can't stand him.
So give me Dolphins here -3.
As much as I can't stand Murray, give me Arizona at +3 here. I don't think that Tua makes it through the whole game. I think that he plays maybe a quarter and something happens. God forbid. I hope it doesn't.
Don't say that. But it's his fault.
I think that's exactly what happens. I mean, I'm just playing what I think. So give me the Cardinals at +3 here.
Alrighty.
All right, moving on to the next one here. We have the Saints versus the Chargers. This is a tough one. The Saints are looking decent in the past couple of weeks, but the Chargers just really started to turn it on with Herbert. What do you see?
Yeah, Chargers were playing the Cardinals last night and lost that game late, 17-15.
Yeah.
These two teams, I can't. We're in week? What are we? Week 7.
Mm-hmm.
I can't figure either one of these teams out. That's 7.5. I'm going Saints here. Getting the points. If it was 6.5, I might think differently. Chargers haven't impressed me. I mean, Herbert did have like 300 yards passing, but no touchdowns. The running game. Yeah, that spread is wacky to me. I don't like that spread. I wouldn't pick this game. I don't know why I picked this game, but I'm going to go New Orleans here. Maybe they'll get a win.
Yeah, I'm going to
not a win. They'll cover.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm taking New Orleans at +7.5 here.
I do love that
Chargers logo?
Yeah, that logo. Now, this game is funny because this game would have been the opposite if those injuries didn't occur.
Yeah.
Bucks lost Evans and
Godwin. Yeah. I'm wishing for a speedy recovery for both of them. Both good guys, good players.
Yeah, I saw Baker's press conference after the game yesterday, and he was distraught because he said that Godwin is an awesome football player, but an awesome person first. And whenever you hear that, it's like you don't hear that enough, you know? You got these guys they're human. A lot of them are idiots. But then I love when they talk about good guys. So, I don't know. I think it's going to be tough. It's a short week. I'm going Falcons here, minus 2.5.
I'm taking the opposite. I'm gonna go with Rashid White and Baker Mayfield putting together something on the side of the Tampa. I think they're going to be a run heavy game coming up.
I could see that very well happening as well.
Yeah, and especially getting some points as well. So give me 2.5 points, plus 2.5 points for Tampa Bay here.
Okay.
Moving on to the next one, we have the up and down, left and right Bills versus Seattle. And if I may go first, I believe Seattle is going to have a very similar game that they had a few weeks ago when they played against the Lions. I think it's going to be a back and forth game. Whoever scores last wins. And I think that's going to be the Bills, and they're going to win by more than 3 here.
Okay. Yeah, travel. It's in Seattle, right? Obviously. Yep. Okay, so Buffalo's going cross country. I was talking to my buddy who's a big Buffalo fan, and I was like, what's up with Josh? And then Josh went off on Tennessee, who he should have, although Tennessee was up 10-0. Bills were 9.5 or 10-point favorite, then they scored 34 unanswered and won like 34-10 or something like that. Seattle's just such a different team at home, but the Bills I think are starting to feel it a little bit. Plus they used Amari Cooper last week and he scored. Wow. And he had a few catches. So I think that's an awesome addition to that team. Yeah, give me Buffalo here minus 3.
All right, let's move on to the next one here. Also want to say it is the first day of the NBA season, so everyone go out, make some NBA picks, and stay tuned. We have some things coming for that as well.
See, with all the talk about football and the knowledge you have, the basketball is your sport.
That's probably my favorite. That's where I would, if I was in a state that I could still bet on games like that, I would probably make the most money on, which I did in Richmond.
Oh my gosh, when we went to spring training, Clearwater, back in March, and we were back in the hotel room in the evenings, and I think it was NBA playoffs. Was the playoffs going on yet? No, not yet. There were still games going on.
Just about, yeah.
And I couldn't believe the knowledge that you had with NBA. I was like, how do you know that? Like, and you're like, dude, basketball is my sport. Do you follow college as well? Or is NBA, you like the NBA?
I do follow college as well, but I just like the NBA, the superstars, all of that. I mean, I'm a Sixers fan, so I like to watch the Sixers, and then I like watching LeBron play. So, I mean,
well, when we do get back into our bankroll battle, you can start doing that too.
Well, that's the whole point of bankroll battle, was to get into the NBA a little bit.
NBA.
Yeah.
So we'll have to do that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this week. Get back into that because you can record at your mom's house, or you can come here.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're talking like we're off camera. All right. Next one we have is the Bears. Love that logo, dude.
Me too. My favorite.
Going to Washington. Now, Washington, Daniels got hurt last week, day to day. This spread is telling me he's probably not going to play, but it's also Tuesday night. I think Mariota did a very nice job in relief of Daniels. Don't give me Washington. I also love Washington's defense. I think they're gonna. Caleb Williams has been doing an awesome job with Chicago and has that team with a winning record right now. I think they control him a bit more than the last couple of weeks he's had. So give me Washington at home, getting 2.5 points.
Yeah, give me the same thing there. I think Washington at home plus 2.5. And like you said, these are the best two logos we have in our slides. I'm glad that
I love that Bears one, and I love the Chargers.
Yeah, me too. I like these two as well. All right, moving on to the next one. We have the Cowboys versus San Francisco. Cowboys, not very good. I'm telling you, dude, it's weird around here. It is weird around here.
What are they saying in Dallas?
He's yelling at people they're over him. They're
Who's
completely. He? Jerry Jones. He's yelling at people. Do you see him yelling at people on the radio station?
He's got a little dementia lately. Seriously, I think there's something going on in that dude's head. I mean, it's not the Jerry Jones, the typical jerk that he can be. It's just like off the wall
nasty.
Stuff. He's nasty.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird. He was like he tore apart those radio guys for asking him questions. And then today he went on another radio show and said the same exact things that they were asking him about, like how it's, and he's talking about his coaches, about how they're not coming up with proper schemes that they're playing. I don't know. It's weird.
Dude, I don't care if you're an owner or a coach or a player.
Yeah.
And it's the proverbial keep it in the locker room. Keep it in the locker room.
Yeah. Did you see
or keep it in your office. I mean, it's like a couple of the Rodgers interviews the last 2 weeks and calling out Mike Williams and calling out somebody else who didn't – even if your guy misses the route.
Yeah.
You're playing like garbage too, dude.
Yeah.
So don't be calling out your players.
Did you see? We're already over on time, so screw it. Let's just keep going. Did you see the whole Arizona State kicker thing?
Is that the one where the coach said, "So email me Monday morning. We're having tryouts." I was telling somebody about that today, and I couldn't remember what the team was. It was Arizona State.
Yeah. Can you believe that? How dare you?
Yeah.
If I was that kid, I mean, that's to the point where if I'm that kid and I see him, I'm fighting. Like, that's who are you talking to?
Yeah.
Like, it's disrespectful. I mean, he's a kid who missed some plays. I mean, a kid. And if you go back, I forget who the coach was. I'm sure you'll know.
I don't know who the Arizona State coach is now.
I'm telling. There was a story back in the day where a famous coach where he was like, "If you want to write about somebody, you write about me. I'm a man. I'm not a kid."
That was Mike Gundy of Oklahoma
Mike
State.
Gundy, exactly. I know. I could see the orange in my head.
Yes.
Where did that go? I mean, where did that go? I mean, this with the NIL deals that these kids are getting, they're expected to grow up. Now this kid's freaking 18 years old.
Stupid.
It's stupid. That's a grown man.
You don't do it in the pros. Never mind college.
It's a grown man talking about a freaking kid there. I mean, that kid's 8 years younger than I am.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous. Anyway, that pissed me off more than anything I've seen this whole week.
Yeah. You just don't do that. Who do you like here?
I'm taking San Francisco. San Francisco.
San Francisco has a lot of injuries, man. Ayuk went down.
I think Debo Jennings stands up for him.
Yeah, Debo's out with pneumonia. I don't know if Debo's going to play this week. I mean, he tried to go on Sunday, and I think he was in there 3 plays, and then he couldn't breathe. They had him they had a shot of him walking off the field. He was coughing and hacking up a lung. He should have been not played.
Yeah.
I like San Francisco at home. I think Purdy gets the job. I mean, although they didn't look very good against Kansas City, but a lot of people don't. I think they get back in the win column this week. Give me San Fran and 4.5.
Yep, same here. And that.
Well, so happy that we got back online and got this done. I mean, we've been enjoying doing this and getting this out to you guys. Hopefully we didn't banter too much tonight. We got off on a few tangents, but yeah, it's awesome to have you back, Michael. And yeah, how do you feel?
I feel good. I'm pretty confident about the picks I had this week, so I'm looking forward to seeing how these ones play out. Maybe we can. We'll be together at least for some of these games. So like the old days. So
oh my
be a good
gosh,
time.
You need to come over Saturday if you're not busy, and we'll watch some games. A lot of good games, a lot of tough games that we picked tonight.
For sure,
I know a lot of go either way kind of games.
I think you, I, and a couple other friends have a date with a whiteboard coming up on Sunday. So
I was like, what? Yeah, I got it. I understand. Oh my God, yeah, private joke. All right, sounds good. Listen, safe travels tomorrow. What time's your flight?
It leaves at 7:30 your time, p.m.
p.m.
Yeah,
7:30 p.m. to 6:30. So what time is it? Straight shot into Richmond, right?
It goes to
Do you
Atlanta.
have a ride home?
Landon's picking me up, but it goes to Atlanta first.
Okay.
Yeah.
You couldn't get it nonstop. I thought American flew nonstop.
It does. I'm flying out the airport that's next to my house instead.
Is that Love Field?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Well, listen, safe travels, and yeah, looking forward to seeing you and I'll buy you lunch if you come over like old times, and we'll watch some games together.
Sounds good. All right, play us out here.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Gamblers Gazette podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. While you're at it, help us spread the word by leaving us a rating and review. But that's not all. Subscribe to our exclusive newsletter using the link in the podcast description and get the lowdown on daily picks and an in-depth breakdown of each game right in your inbox.